Hello. Hi, everyone. This is Vinyl on Paper, where I talk about stationery and paper products and vinyl records. January is simultaneously full steam ahead and very slow and low at the same time. I'm having to be extremely productive, but also I'm not really feeling like doing much of anything. But we're making it work, okay? We're doing our best. I'm getting into my new system here. My planner, this is the Hobonichi Weeks, and my life log, which is the Kokuyu Jibun Techo. I'm getting to really know how I use this new system together. What's my color palette for the year? I've been logging my coffees, have my gratitude practice going, habit tracking. One thing I love, you might see my cat walking around on the table. One thing I love is it's very easy to carry around. I'm still building up the muscle memory for these two. Like, I feel like I'm still always reaching for the wrong one. But generally, I'm having a good time, and I really like it. So, today, what are we doing? I'm starting with this video, a new monthly series. And it's called 12 Records, 18 Years Later. Let me explain. I started buying records at the beginning of 2008. And back then in January, I had an idea for a project where I committed to buying one record a month for the whole year. I think it was because I was excited about a new thing that I was interested in doing, and I didn't really know what I was doing as a person who buys records, which sounds kind of nuts. Like, I don't even really know what I mean by that. Maybe I didn't really know what my record collector identity was, but it's a project I did back in 2008. And what I decided to do is each month this year, I will share the record that I bought that month. And before I film, I will spin it for myself and journal about it in my vinyl journal. And basically, I'm really excited about doing this, and also a little apprehensive because I don't know how I'll feel about these albums. Because my music taste and focus is very different now than it was back then. But also, these are the first records I ever bought. So even though I don't really ever play the records now, these 12 records are very significant to me. Now, I've mentioned the vinyl journal before, but basically I had the idea to start this from someone I know who has this vinyl record cataloging book. And it has all the metadata you would imagine about records on each page, but there's also this little liner notes section that he uses to sit down with each record, spin it, and just write whatever comes to mind about his feelings of that record, or a little tidbit, a memory. And I really loved that idea. So I bought a 3-pack of these little Moleskines, and I decided to try the same thing. I haven't really known how to go about the vinyl journal. Like, should I sit down, play the whole record, and then write my thoughts? Should I do stream of consciousness? And it made me, I all of a sudden thought about this wedding that I went to once. That was a Quaker style wedding. And the Quaker part of it was the couple sits together at the front in silence with the congregation, and there's no officiant, and they kind of stare at each other. And when the couple feels inwardly led, they stand, declare their commitment to each other, and then at that moment, they're considered married. So it relates to this because I thought, I'm just going to let it happen and just sit down, put the record on, and when I'm inwardly led, I'll just start writing. It could be at any point. So that's what I did and what I will do for each of these. And one note, I didn't look at the full list of records. I can't remember what I got. I remember a couple, but I kind of wanted to surprise myself. And I think I still have all the records, so it'll be a show and tell. And then another note is these records are probably all very mid-2000s indie rock, which, as I mentioned, is very different from my music focus now. So it'll be a very nostalgic time capsule of an experience for me, what life was like back then, 18 years ago. So that's all the exposition I will give. Let's get into this first one, January, 18 years later. This one was a doozy and I did not expect that. This is a record called In Our Bedroom After the War by a band called Stars. Now, one of the things I did to prepare for this is to look them up a little bit. And because I didn't back then, I expected a huge abundance of information about Stars because in my friend group at the time, they were a big deal. This song, Set Yourself on Fire, which was before this, was huge. And I didn't not find a lot about them, but just not as much like lore, story, drama stuff that I thought. So I'll just tell you a couple of things. This is an indie pop, indie rock band from Canada. They're a huge band, 6 people on Wikipedia, but there are 5 listed on this album. And they're one of those 2000s bands with a lot of instruments. So on Wikipedia, for example, it mentions the melodica, French horn, keys, but you just wait. I will get to that. I also read that they're one of the first bands to make their album digitally available from the day after they finished it in 2007. And I think I remember reading that it was to try to beat leaks. So definitely part of the time capsule. Remember when leaks were more of a thing? Like maybe they still are. I'm not sure. But anyway, about the record itself, I remember buying this record in a shop in Brooklyn called Soundfix. It's not there anymore. Now it's a restaurant, which I think has been the same restaurant for a while, so that's nice. It was a small little record store, very cozy. Maybe the walls were orange, I seem to remember. And through the back, there was a little cafe. And I used to go into the record shop, browse around, and then I would go into the cafe and journal or work on my little projects. And I remember that there was a bar that the booths that I sat in were facing, and behind the bar there were bottles on the wall on built-in shelves, but they were within this frame of the side of a grand piano, if you can, this like curvy shape. So someone took just the side frame of the grand piano, mounted it on the wall, and then put the shelves inside and had the bottles on there. And then the windows in that little cafe were higher up on the wall, so I kind of would feel tucked down in a cozy nook in there. And it was never really crowded. I can't even imagine this kind of vibe now on that street. It was on Bedford Avenue. It was just a very different, quieter time. All right, now onto my experience of listening to this. My memory of Stars is of a band that's a little bit twee, emotional, sincere. I wasn't sure how I would enjoy the record playing it again. It's like I said, I just have a different music focus right now, but man, it really tugged at me. It was my first time playing this record with, first of all, nicer gear. When I got this album, I had one of those like Crossley suitcases all in one with the built-in speakers, and now I have a little bit of a nicer setup with the preamp and the speakers and the turntable and everything, and I can hear the really nice mixing on this record. And the vibe of the record, there's a swell, there's this hope and a sense of infiniteness. And that sound and feeling fit perfectly with the stage of my life I was at the time. Honestly, like, I wish I could tell her 18 years ago me everything about what was going to happen in the next 18 years. But also no, so she could go in blind and wide open. There's so much possibility attached to this music, which is what makes it fit with that era so well. I don't know, honestly, if I'd feel the same way if I heard it for the first time now. So there's a lot wrapped up in this. The music itself is very sincere, very emotional. The track order was in some small drawer in the back of my mind because when one of the sides finished, I was sort of staring into space for a while and like humming a song to myself. And when I flipped the record over, there was that song. So this is obviously like buried deep in there and it never went away. I personally love the songs on this album that the ones that really shine for me are the ones that are more upbeat, a little bit louder. They are super solid. The actual record, I had a lot of like memory for when I looked at it, like this painting, and actually the one part I didn't have a memory for was this back. I don't remember this keyhole painting at all, but I do remember the stuff that was on the inside. So let's check it out. It's a gatefold, and on the inside here is a really nice portrait of the band. And the whole bedroom after the war theme comes through comes through everything. So here they are in a bedroom. This is something I don't think I had read when I first got the album. This is like liner note fiction. It's a little fiction piece, and it was written by Daniel Handler, aka Lemony Snicket, like who wrote A Series of Unfortunate Events. So, oh my gosh, what? I read it last night. It's really beautifully written. It's describing like a family in a home or a bedroom after some kind of war or big event happens. There's this part here about people in the streets like destroying records that I really, really liked. I'll read a piece about it. It says, a group of popular kids from high school went feral for months, from months of neglect, and set upon lovers at sunset, destroying whatever records they were vicious enough to find. Foxbase Alpha, Gone Forever, a big scratch downside 2 of Cupid and Psyche 85, the jacket of Around the World in a Day scorched with a cheap lighter, Dusty in Memphis, beautiful Dusty in Memphis, melted down in a garbage can bonfire. So it's very visceral. It describes things in a way that I can just see it all. So I really liked that one a lot. The records themselves, I'll just show these like inner jackets. This is the same painting from the front. I looked in the credits, the painter up. His name is Thomas Campbell. I looked up his work and wow, I love it. I'm definitely going to dig into it more. And these are all lyrics for the whole track listing. The back has some great Easter eggs on it. And remember when I said just you wait about all the instruments? Here where they talk about the band, they list in detail the instruments. Like here we have mandolin, dulcimer, moog, euphonium, and then we have upright piano, grand piano, Rhodes, Wurlitzer, synthesizers. And then later down here, melodica, apple pipe, whining, ranting, and weeping. So there's some really nice little nuggets in here. If you really, I really encourage everyone to actually read everything and go through all of the pieces that come with the record, because it really is one whole package of art rather than just the individual tracks or the unit of all tracks together. The records themselves are in pristine condition. I barely had to use my anti-static brush on them. I thought that the design of these labels was really interesting because the whole record has this very organic vibe, this very, you can see the paint layers and textures on this. And this is a very human picture, obviously. And then the label on here is a bit more 80s graphic design kind of vibe. So I thought that was kind of cool. One thing that I found on this record when I flipped it over to side D is I found a cat hair on there. And because I haven't listened to this album in years and years, I knew that it was a cat hair from my last cat who passed in 2017. So I took a little piece of tape and picked up the cat hair real quick from the record and taped it down onto this page where I journaled about this record. If the nostalgia wasn't enough, that happened. So overall, like I said, this was a very pleasantly surprising experience. I wasn't expecting having such a strong connection with the record so many years later. But again, it was the very beginning of this journey of collecting records for me, and from a very particular point in time when things felt very open and full of possibility and carefree, and the music really matches that. So that's that for January, for 12 records 18 years later. I hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye!